Well, this race is real stuff got really touchy for people when she brings up average IQs being lower for black people. Apparently people are cool with all the positive attributes in their race, like being taller, stronger, and more athletic. People will easily admit blacks are more likely to be basketball players. But if you even mention that they're also lower IQ on average, it starts a whole shitstorm. What is race realism anyway? Well, race realism is kinda just common sense. It is simply acknowledging that there are genetic differences between different racial groups. People rarely dispute this when it comes to physical attributes, probably because it's too obvious for people to deny. For example, Dutch people are genetically taller than Koreans. Black people have darker skin than whites. These are differences and they're caused by genetics. But when we examine differences in intelligence and behavior, that's when people tend to freak out, like what we've been seeing lately. The people who deny race realism or the fact that IQ varies depending on race or background, they're just being timid PC pussies. In reality, it's unrealistic to think that every group would be equally good at everything. That's just not how evolution works. Now, to be fair, these observed differences are not entirely nature or nurture. They're a combination, but it is important for us to explore all the factors together in a constructive way. Shutting down discussions about genetics like this just pushes more people into the fringes. So right from the start on this IQ discussion, the whole idea of IQ has been misconstrued. This idea that saying blacks are lower IQ on average makes them dumb and inferior is just flawed. It's coming from knee-jerk defensive reactions from black people, and it's coming from timid, cucked-up white people who are too afraid to admit these truths and offend people. It's funny how the edgy skeptic YouTubers turn into SJWs as soon as you start talking about the differences between races. But guys, come on, it doesn't matter what shitty sources may have been listed. A lot of the points Rage made have truth to them, and if the nerds complaining about sources ever cared to look, there are plenty out there that support what Rage and other race realists are saying. The Bell Curve, for example, broached this subject over 23 years ago. This is the book that sparked much of this debate and controversy in the 90s. And it's not only about IQ related to genetics, it also covers environmental and socioeconomic factors. Now, after they get past the average IQ thing, which we all have here now, the next step is to address the implications of a group having lower IQ. And this is another point people hated on Rage about too. Does low IQ lead to more violent, destructive behaviors? Probably, and this is another point where people will love to call you a racist for recognizing it.
With higher IQ, you're more likely to reach diplomatic solutions and use intelligence to create solutions that are equitable for everyone, whereas populations with lower IQ might not be able to do that. They might have to resort to using violence, warfare, things like that.
Also in that stream, AIU brings up a great point here with Andy. Blacks genetically have higher testosterone. There's no scientist or legitimate doctor out there who would deny this. And higher T leads to more aggressive, violent behaviors. This is why men fight more than women on average. More T. And so, it's part of the reason blacks resort to violence more on average. Higher testosterone. Combine that with lower IQ and now we're starting to get somewhere. This anger and animosity certainly isn't coming from the top down. Besides the occasional white supremacist, no one is coming at this argument from a superiority complex. Whites, Jews, and Asians who are at the top of the IQ spectrum, they're not claiming to be superior here to feel better. We're just looking at studies and acknowledging facts. No, it's the black community on the bottom of the IQ range. They're the ones who want to deny this shit even exists. They're denying science because they're so worried about looking inferior, and it's a little sad. There's nothing wrong with admitting your race or gender is lower in something on average. Asians are shorter, whites are paler, girls are weaker, and men are the best. That's not a good example. What I'm trying to say here is this whole debate is kind of a non-controversy, a non-traversy, if you will. The only real problem here is some people are scared to admit scientific facts because it may hurt other people's feelings. And all I have to say to that is, grow the fuck up. In the end, race is real, genetics are real, and genes that provide high intelligence are real, and they're concentrated in white and Asian populations. That's why the world's greatest civilizations have developed in Europe, North America, and Asia.